The American dream, white picket fences, a steady job, college for the kids, a small house with a big yard. It was once the gold standard of middle-class life, a promise whispered into millions of ears. If you work hard, you'll make it. But somewhere between the 1970s and today, it disappeared. Or more accurately, it was shipped somewhere else. This isn't just an economic story, it's your story. If you've ever worked harder just to afford less, if your parents owned more with fewer credentials than you have now, you're living the fallout. By the end of this video, you'll see how the world's most powerful economy hollowed itself out and who got rich doing it. Because the American dream wasn't stolen overnight. It was slowly, deliberately offshored. In the 3 decades after World War II, America experienced the greatest economic boom in human history. One income could support an entire family. A factory job meant you could buy a house, take a vacation, and retire with dignity. Unions were strong. Wages kept pace with productivity. CEOs made 20 times what the average worker made. Not 400, but underneath the success was a ticking clock. Because what powered that prosperity wasn't just grit and innovation, it was dominance. The US was the only major industrial economy left standing. Europe and Japan were rebuilding. China was closed off. The world needed America. For food, goods, money, and protection, we were the only game in town, and we made the rules. For a while it worked. Infrastructure expanded. Home ownership surged. Living standards climbed. But power creates distance, and success creates arrogance. Behind the scenes, something was already shifting. The same system that lifted millions into the middle class was beginning to see those people, not as assets, but as costs. Because when you control the market, you don't need to compete. And when you don't need to compete, you don't need the workers who made you rich. The golden age wasn't built to last. It was built to scale. And America was about to scale somewhere cheaper. The 1970s cracked it open. Oil shocks, inflation, wage pressure. And just like that, Wall Street found its religion, globalization. Suddenly, executives realized something. There were countries where workers didn't ask for pensions, or weekends, or basic safety. And instead of building American jobs back stronger, they started looking east. Economists promised it would all trickle down, that Americans would just move up the value chain, that we'd focus on high-skilled jobs while the rest of the world handled low-cost labor. But the math was a lie. What actually happened was this. The factories left, the unions broke, the pensions vanished, and working Americans were told to learn to code. College became the new entry point, but the cost of admission kept rising. And the jobs? Well, they went global. Meanwhile, a new class of executive was born. Not builders, not inventors, extractors. Their job wasn't to grow companies. It was to cut costs, offload labor, dodge taxes, then cash out. And every time a plant closed, every time a community lost its lifeline, stocks went up. This wasn't an accident. It was a playbook. And both political parties read from the same one. Because in this new version of capitalism, workers weren't partners. They were overhead. Offshoring wasn't just a trend. It was a gold rush. Engineered by Wall Street and signed into law by politicians. GE moved plants to Mexico. Its stocks soared. Apple outsourced to China. Its margins exploded. Amazon crushed retail. And Jeff Bezos became the richest man in history. They didn't just cut costs, they rewrote the economy. Since 1979, worker productivity is up over 250%. Wages up just 16%. Who took the difference? The same people who offshored your job and sold you debt to survive it. Because as work became insecure, credit became essential. You didn't get a raise. You got a credit card. You didn't get benefits. You got buy now, pay later. This wasn't just economic evolution. It was a wealth extraction machine. Meanwhile, the people selling the American dream never live by its rules. They don't send their kids to public school. They don't worry about a medical bill. They don't wait on Social Security. And they definitely don't live paycheck to paycheck. They've built on a second economy, are offshore, tax-free, algorithmically optimized. And you've been left in the old one, with rising rent, stagnant wages, and a retirement plan that depends on GoFundMe. This isn't the result of a system that failed. This is the system working as designed. Fast forward to now. The richest 10% own nearly 70% of the nation's wealth. Life expectancy is falling. Half of Americans can't cover a $500 emergency, and nobody trusts the system. Can you blame them? We were told free trade would raise all boats, but some of us got yachts, while others sank. Because when you offload industry, you don't just lose jobs, you lose meaning, community, control. The fabric unravels. That's how you get a society where people are angry, isolated, and afraid. And into that vacuum comes everything else. Conspiracy, extremism, despair, addiction. You don't get social collapse overnight. You get it when people start to believe that nothing they do matters. And the worst part, we were told this was normal, that it was just the market, that it's nobody's fault. But someone made choices. They chose to protect profits over people. They chose to dismantle a system that once delivered stability and replace it with one that delivers shareholder value. This didn't happen because we weren't smart enough, or competitive enough, or productive enough. It happened because power changed hands, and it never came back. The American dream didn't collapse. It was stripped for parts, sold overseas, and replaced with a subscription plan for survival. Where we go from here? Here's the truth. America still has the tools to rebuild. We have the talent, the technology, the resilience. But the system that betrayed you will not be the one that saves you. Real change won't come from the top. It'll come from us, from local businesses that refuse to sell out, from neighbors who build something together instead of waiting for help that never comes, from people who decide enough is enough. The goal isn't to rewind history, it's to build something better. Not a dream sold on a billboard, but a life you can actually live. One where success isn't gated, where work means dignity, and where profit doesn't come at the cost of your future. So what do you do now? Start small, pay off what you can, build skills that matter, get involved locally, find others who see what you see, and stay awake. Because once you see how the game was rigged, you don't go back to sleep. You build something else. The American dream wasn't offshored, it was stolen. But there's a way to get it back. Here's the truth. The system wasn't built to save you, but we can build something better. Because the American dream was never about luxury, it was about dignity. And if you're still here, if you're still watching, you're not alone. Because knowing the truth isn't the end, it's the beginning. If this opened your eyes, don't just scroll, share it, talk about it, subscribe to the channel for the next video. Because until we understand how the system was designed, we'll keep blaming ourselves for what was never in our control.